That's a nice shirt you got.
Yeah, I know the people who make it.
It's so faded.
As you can see, I wear it a lot. Oh, God.
What's all that for?
What?
What's all that?
Oh, this is all the weight it's going to take to make your car work. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, man.
Just joshing, yeah. As you know, we picked it up from the chassis shop because the last time we raced it, you broke it.
Well, maybe there's not people that know about last time.
All right, well, last time you broke it.
More than broke it.
You broke it bad.
We broke the whole 4-link out.
Yeah.
Well,
so we went to the chassis shop. It got all new bolt-in rear K-member.
I'll insert some B-roll if I remember.
4-link bars, all that good stuff. And we got it back from the chassis shop amidst the move. So now, as you know from the last video, was doing a couple of things to mine to get it ready to go have fun with. Now we're doing a couple of things to yours to get it ready to go have fun with.
Mine needs more than yours, though.
Yours needs more than mine, for sure. Last time I drove mine, I didn't break it, I just lost. I would have rather broke it. But,
I would rather have lost.
yeah, you weren't racing anybody. I was racing a Camaro on
I was racing you.
Combo Pros with leaf springs.
I raced that guy before.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Anywho.
Let's not start a fight.
Let's not start a domestic dispute. So, we're going to just do a complete initial setup on this, as if, because I'm sure the chassis guy set it up however he sets them up or whatever, but as you know, everybody has a different way of doing things, and we all like our way. So,
especially you.
We are going to have a domestic.
We are heavy on the note taking, and we would never go test a car without having notes written down on what it's at,
Well, yeah, it helps you to know what changes to make if you know where you're at. If you don't know where you're at, but you can still do it. If you don't know where you're at, you can still make a change and see if it works. But if you know where you're at, you can make an educated guess on where you need to go. So
if you make the change and it's the wrong change, you can go back to where you were at.
Bingo. Especially if you're at the track or somewhere and you don't remember what you're doing. But in order to do the initial setup on a car, on any car, first thing I do is, first thing you got to do is set the initial ride height just in the ballpark. It doesn't have to be perfect. Just get it sitting about where you want it. Crankshaft height from the ground, and then, make it look to where it's not terrible. And then...
Okay, so about the looking like it's not terrible. The non-stop comments of, why does it sit so high?
It's not sitting high right now?
Stock tubs.
It's not sitting high right now?
I mean, they would say that's high because the wheel's not half tucked under it.
Right, well, it's got, stock chassis, stock wheel tubs.
No mini tub or nothing.
These cars were not meant to have a 28 10.5 tire even. This car is just not going to sit on the ground. It's not going to tuck half the wheel and all that
Not
stuff.
because we just don't know how to make a car sit nice or whatever. It's just...
There were some times that we took this car out, though, and it was really high in the back. And that's when we were trying to get the crankshaft angle up a little because it was like this. We struggled a little bit, but we got it to a better place. It takes a little bit.
And now we're starting from zero, so...
And now we're starting from zero. So the first thing we do is set the initial ride height. Anytime you're doing anything with these cars, you do it as the way it would be on the starting line. So fuel, nitrous, water.
Not what you tell your friends it weighs. No. And not what you tell the internet what it weighs.
We don't care what it weighs.
No.
It's going to weigh what it weighs. Right now is not the time to worry about weight. The time to worry about weight was when you were building it. You know what I mean? And if you want to start worrying about weight, then you take it all apart and you get the weight out of it then. But right now, we're not. It's going to weigh what it's going to weigh, and there ain't nothing we can do about it. So, but we want to get it exactly the way it is on the starting line, so that when we set our ride height, it's right, and you're not going to have some surprise deal where you think you're 4 links here, and all of a sudden you go to the racetrack and it's not there because you've filled it up with gas and put a bottle in it.
And to clarify, when we say your weight, we're not talking about the weight that you own like this. We're talking about the weight of your body in the car. Because we had this talk on Discord before where I said, make sure your weight's in it or whatever. And someone was like, yeah, I put the weight in the back. And I was like, no, like not you ballast. As a person.
Yeah, not ballast weight. No. We're talking You can add ballast if you want or whatever, but I'm just talking starting. We want this car to be weighing on each corner what it would weigh on the starting line. So,
including if you're going to run ballast and put it on there.
Yeah, whatever you're going to do, have it on the starting line. That's your initial setup. Now, if you go back and add weight later, you can adjust things, check things, whatever. First thing we want to do is we just got to get it where it would be on the starting line. So we're going to put weight, not ballast. This is ballast if you use it after the car is running. Got to set tires. We're going to check the ride height where it's at, and then decide where to go from there. Visually, it looks really good. It's really low. You know, scrape everywhere, pulling in and out of somewhere. It's great.
It already has.
That's the way we like them. But ain't no point in saying, well, last time it worked really, really good. It looked really low. Or that's way lower than it usually looks when it works good. So we're going to check crankshaft. Crankshaft height where we're sitting is at about 15. Well, the crankshaft's right at 15 right now. That's a little low for this car, or it has been in the past. So I may go up a little bit in the front. It's not so much about the motor being heavy as it is the motor so far away from the drive tire.
Yeah, it is. It'd be way up there.
Yeah, and so what we have learned is the only way to really try and combat that is to get the motor up so that it takes less rotation to get the weight of the engine on the drive tire. Otherwise, you have to rotate further. So if you raise it up in the car, you don't have to rotate the car as much. Less energy wasted, all that good stuff. Science! We're going to say that the rear cross member is 5. So that's low. That's good and low. Not only does it look low, it is low. So next thing is we need to make the car straight or square, because the whole point is to make sure that the rear end is square and centered in the chassis. Square, level, plumb straight. And I don't mean for this to be a teaching thing, because I'm not trying to teach nobody how to do this, because there's probably people out there that know a million better ways to do it than I do, but it's more just trying to talk about what I'm doing while I'm doing it, so that people understand more of what goes into it for me, not for themselves. So first thing we got to do is we got to get this out of the equation, because this anti-roll bar holds the car square with the rear end. And so if it's not right and it's locked down, then it's holding it wrong, basically.
So the anti-roll bar is the thicker bottom tube, and then the one above that is the
rear. Most cars have this up on the chassis, and then short links go into the top of the rear end. This car doesn't have any room because it has a factory trunk, and it's the way these cars are made with independent rear. There's just no room back here, so when you put a solid axle, everything gets weird. So the anti-roll bar is on the bottom, and the links go up. So we're not getting that out of the way here. Whoa, cowboy. That was way out of the way. There we go. Ooh. Look, here's an issue. Already. This is why we do this. And see, as we go through all this, that's how you find out if anything's wrong. And once you start setting, because you can look at stuff all day and tighten stuff and try stuff, whatever, but when you actually go to set a car up, that's when you'll find out if something isn't right. Because you can watch, this isn't supposed to move. You're supposed to be just loosening, taking the slack off of this, but something's moving because I'm going a half a turn. So if you look here, see that? If you look, when it happens, this bolt gets loose. Like I can do it by hand. When you put it back where it was, it's tight. I can't move it. But when it goes to there, it's, yeah. So,
jeez.
Yeah, nifty, huh?
Is it not weird that like it goes, the length is going the entire length of the thing? Like you can't even really adjust it.
The link?
Like
this?
The bar, yeah.
The anti-roll bar links? That's what these are, yes?
Yeah, I just called it a link and then you called it a link.
Well, because I'm trying to figure out what you're talking about, the length of it. What do you mean?
Like, it's literally like nut to heim and then the link all the way up to nut to heim. Like there's no adjustment.
Yeah, well, the reason is because they're too long. So,
which we should point out that we did notice that this one, the knurling is higher than this one. So they're always going to look a little weird.
I think it's just the factor. It's like a roundy round part or whatever. But the biggest thing is because they're too long, the links are too long, he had them sucked all the way up to get this away from the ground. Because this is going to simulate, the bottom of this is going to simulate the ground.
I mean, that hit on the day that we picked it up.
So you can see, you know what I mean? Like that deal is, yeah, it's very close to the ground. So we're probably going to add that to our notes that we're going to need to put shorter. We're probably going to need to put shorter anti-roll bar links on it. But that's no big deal. I'm pretty sure I made some for your car the last time. Hopefully we still have those, so it's not a big deal. If not, we got a lathe and we got tools and we can make something happen. All right, so we're going to be adding these things to our notes, you know what I mean, of issues that we just need, that are little things. Not like something you got to tear everything out and redo it, but it's more like just little things like, you know, like this brake line, you know, just little stuff. So we're going to add that to our list, but this is not going to affect what we're doing as far as setting the ride height and getting the rear square in the car. That's all stuff we can come back and do when that's done. I am going to completely take these out of the equation because this one doesn't even get super loose, so it's hard to tell if it's neutral or not.
The neutral is when that bar can move.
Yeah, this is basically, that's neutral when you can turn, you know what I mean, and it's easy. And then there'll be when it starts to get tight, and it starts to get tight, in between that is what we call neutral. You just want to remember to get whenever you tighten them back down, to get the heims clocked the same so that they're not binding if it goes through a bunch of travel somehow. All right, so now that's out of the equation. So this is no longer affecting the ride height because only one side's hooked up. So it can't affect the ride height now unless it gets caught up in here or something, which I'll probably just take it all the way out. But that's not affecting it any longer. Cool. That shock's leaning pretty hard.
Yeah, it is. Especially on camera.
Huh. Yeah. But I'm hoping it's just these cheap shock brackets. Yeah, because I can see light through on this side. I'm hoping it's just the cheap shock brackets that need to be bent back into shape or got thrown away or something. But I'm hoping it, because I don't think the rear end is that far over in the car. I think it's really close actually. So I'm gonna guess that that's just the shock bracket holding it off center. But that's more little stuff we're gonna find out. We only have about an inch of shock shaft showing, maybe not even, maybe 3/4. So it's a little low. If we were going to run it at this ride height, we would want to drop these down a hole to give us a little more shock shaft there. Just if we end up running it this low, we may want to do that just to give us an extra little bit of shock travel before it bottoms out, so that
because these are my shorter ones.
If you're braking hard at the end of a run, or you get into some bumps under braking, it'll cause it to bounce and slide all over the place. Which isn't a problem if the chute's out, but if the chute ain't out, it could be an issue. So, I mean, it's an 1/8 of an inch from, like if you look up there, I can't even get my flashlight between it. So it's maybe 1/4 of an inch, but still.
And a self-clearance right in the
It's close. Yeah, it'll self-clearance if you hit a good bump, but we're gonna fix all that.
Those are my shorter shocks too, aren't they?
Yes.
This is why people do mini tubs and,
What do
back
you mean?
halves stuff.
Oh.
Give them some room under here,
Yeah, it helps. Having room, not having a factory floorboard or factory frame rails to deal with is, that's cool.
The projects.
Yeah.
I need to look up how much them deals is rated to weight-wise. So I feel like that one time we looked it up and I was like, well, we're not using them on my car.
I'm sure they say 2,500 pounds, but I've used them on my car. And
Yours would be like 300 over. Mine would be like 800 over.
No, my factory frame rail car, or my back half, the white car, I use that thing on projects, and it was 3,200, so you should be fine. The projects may not like it, but here's the...
They don't really like anything, though.
I don't know.
Well.
Oh, God dang it.
Nope.
Man, I was all excited for nothing. What is the point of that? What was the point of that?
I don't know.
That sucks, man. I mean, I get you had to make a bend here, but
But I mean, you made the mount thing.
Yeah, lower the bracket. Yeah, give us a little extra meat. Oh well, we've never used projects on it before, so I guess we're not going to use them anymore either. I think we're going to raise the back just a smidge, maybe raise the front just a smidge to make it, more raceable. But while we do that, we also want to take into consideration what our crankshaft angle is, and our crankshaft to drive shaft to pinion angle, and make sure we're not getting...
Maybe you should say what your goal is, because people are like, why
raise
0
it?
Degrees.
What do you mean? Yeah, my goal is under acceleration. When you let off the button, my goal is to have the pinion, the drive shaft, the crankshaft, the output shaft, all of that 0 in a straight line. That's my goal every time. Now, may not ever get to 0, but that's the goal. So usually what we do is we look at what kind of heims you have, what kind of brackets you have, what kind of structure you have. And then we say, okay, this deal's probably going to move. If it's got good Aurora Hymens and good big shank bolts and all this cool stuff, then,
I don't.
and fabbed everything, whatever. Really rigid chassis, it's probably going to move 3/4 of a degree. When you let go of the button, it's going to snap this pinion up 3/4 of a degree maybe to get all the slack out of everything. So what we would do is we would set the crankshaft and the drive shaft at the same angle, and then the pinion at the same, have them all at 0, and then lower the pinion down 3/4 to 1 degree. That way, when you let go of the button, it snaps it straight to 0. That's the goal. Can't always get there with street cars. Can't always get there with stock chassis cars and stuff. But whoever put the mid plate in kind of decided all that. So
GM.
Huh?
GM.
No, I mean the actual mid plate. But with your engine being so high, that's why it has to point down, because it needs to point at the pinion. So
because the last thing that you want is one to be pointing up and the next one to be pointing down. And
then you have 2 different angles. They fight against each other, and it causes a jump rope effect with the drive shaft, and even if you have a really good drive shaft that doesn't break,
the next thing
what it'll do is it'll start whipping, and it'll take bite away, it'll give bite, take bite away, give bite, because as that drive shaft moves, it creates bite in the rear end. So it'll pull the pinion straight, take it away, take it away. So it'll actually like try and lift the tire. It'll and it won't hook, doesn't stay hooked. Yeah. So that's what we look for. So,
which there's probably some videos that we talked about.
Oh, I'm sure there's
the pinion where I was like, it's shaking a lot, because when you let off, if it's not right, it'll shake.
Yeah, when you let off and it dives back down even lower than what it is now because the car sits down. When you let off, a car will sink down. It'll put a whole even more pinion angle in it than what you had, and it'll, if you're not right, your steering wheel will let you know when you let off, because it'll shake all over the place.
Yeah.
And that's that drive shaft. But it was doing it when you're under the acceleration too. You just don't know it. But you know it whenever you're trying to put power in it and it won't take it. It just spins the tire. So we're going to keep an eye on that while we're adjusting ride height and getting things where we want it, and to make sure that we don't get those out of whack. Because if you get those out of whack, everything goes to shit. And we're going to be fixing all these little problems that we see along the way. Yeah, that's not good. I looked up, and see, that's something that you see when you're setting a car up. I looked up and I saw this heim, or this rod end, whatever you want to call it, depending on who you are. I saw this one here clocked this way, like this.
Hold on. Yeah. Sorry.
So I saw this rod end clocked this way, and I looked at this rod end, and it was clocked this way. So you had this rod end this way, this rod end this way. And I was like, oh man, he didn't clock the rod ends. So I reached up here to see how much movement it had, to say that's why you clock them, because now I don't move. And as I moved it, it moved without the rod end moving. So this is not tight at all. So yeah, it's a good thing we didn't go racing with this thing. That one just ain't clocked right. But that's what I thought. I thought it just wasn't clocked right. But that one's tight at least, but this one is not. So yeah, that's part of it though, man.
Yeah.
That's why, you never trust anybody with your own race car. You always make sure it's right, so that if there's anything wrong with it, you can't blame nobody but you. Yeah, I think we can go quite a bit shorter with these. Yeah, that'd be cool. Okay. So I'm just going to raise the rear springs. Probably we're going to start at 8 turns. See where that gets us. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
And that's full rotation.
Yeah.
5.
Yeah, just
not
complete,
like 5.
Complete circle.
Yeah.
And you want to, find something that you can use as a reference every time. Makes it a lot easier, because at the track, this is something that I will adjust at the track. I'll climb under it, and if it needs a little more bite or a little less bite, or like on the big tire, if it's shaking or whatever, sometimes you can just put 5 turns in the rear spanners and take some bite out of it. But I'm using the bolt and the seam with the seam on the shock there as my reference. But
what's your goal for how much of the shaft is showing?
Sometimes you gotta make compromises on that, but like in the front of a car, if you want to get all the travel you can, sometimes you'll only have half an inch shock travel or shock shaft showing. But in the back, I like to have an inch to the, if it's got, like yours has a bump stop, I'd like to have an inch of shock shaft to the bump stop, which is what we have. We may even have a little more than that right now. So yeah, so that's pretty good. So we were 5 on the cross member to the ground. We are now 5 1/4. So 5 turns on the spanners got us 1/4 inch at the cross member. And we look a lot happier up top. We look a lot happier everywhere, really.
So it adds clearance up here where there wasn't any.
And we have shock shaft showing now, which is good.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I like it. So we'll probably start about there. Now, the reason we do all this is so that we can, when we go to square the rear end in the car, you'll be able to have a reference point for where the rear end sits in the car. So you can use, some guys use special shocks. Some guys just do the measurement, take the spring off, bolt to bolt. We're at, I'm gonna say 13 5/8. So that would be our initial ride height in the back. 13 5/8 ish. And then we can, that way when you're checking the rear end in the car, it's also square in the car and this way in the car, so you can set all that without having to deal with having it on the ground and not being able to move anything around, or having to jack it up and set it down 50 million times. So about 13 5/8, 13.5 to 13 5/8 is where we're going to start out on the rear shock length compressed. Basically when the car's sitting on the ground on the starting line. And then what we'll do is we're going to check and make sure it's,
and by that you mean don't measure it when it's on that jack, because right now it's sitting on the lift.
You can, I prefer to do it all like this, and then after raise it up, put it on the jack and measure everything. That way if you're working on it at the racetrack or whatever, you can put it on the jack and you can say, okay, like, you know, you can set the 4-link on the jack. You can say on the jack it's flat and a half.
You just need to specify it. Like you don't want to give a hanging. It means on a jack, like, you know, when it was hanging. But you don't want to get your hanging compared to your on the ground. You know.
Yeah, unless you have a really, really good car and it's the same. Like a really good car is the same. You'll have the same, and like basically, if a really good car, if you've got a flat of negative in the top right 4-link bar and your anti-roll bar is neutral, when you put it on the jacks, it'll have a flat of negative in the 4-link bar and your anti-roll bar will be neutral. It's very, very rare that that's the case, but on a really good car, that's the case.
Yeah, I'm just trying to remember things that people have like asked and then like been confused about, and I remember sometimes it was like we need the on the ground measurement or the hanging measurement for like both. You know, it's hard to compare it on the ground to the hanging.
Once you have it all set, then you can check it on the jacks and say, okay, the anti-roll bar was neutral on the ground with the driver in the car, but on the jacks it's a half a, you bust it loose and check it, it's a half a flat, negative or positive, whatever. So that way, you know, when you go back to the track, if you make a change on the 4-link or something, you know that half a flat negative on the 4-link or on the anti-roll bar is actually neutral on the ground with the driver in the car. Because a lot of these cars, this one ain't bad, but a lot of these cars like mine, you can't really climb under it on the ground at the racetrack because it's so low. Especially when they have wheelie bars and stuff on them. So you just, you know, you can set them on the jack as long as you do it the same every time. Or if you're going to make a change, you bust it loose on the jack and say, okay, I had to move it a half a turn to get it to neutral. So when you put it all back together, you get it to neutral, move it that half turn, tighten it back down after you make your change or whatever. But okay, also I don't like this. It needs to be either spaced out here or spaced in up there, so it'd be more straight.
But we remember to change it on the tune or whatever.
Yeah, little piddly stuff.
Just check it. No torque. Where's my light off?
Huh?
My light's off.
So I'm gonna pop these shocks off of here in order to make sure it's square, level, blah, 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 blah. I really want to get these, get the springs out of the way, so you can either take the shocks completely off, put something between there that's your measurement of 13.5 or 13 5/8 or whatever, so it's solid, so the rear end is hanging solid at the ride height, and then you can adjust your 4-link bars to move the rear end over, and anti-roll bar and all that stuff to get it square in the car. But for probably for visual ease of explanation, I'll probably just pop the springs off. I don't know yet. I don't know. I'm gonna think about that. That's what I'm gonna do. No.
Coyotes and dogs.
No, it just.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my Lord. What is going to happen when it pops out of there?
I don't know, but it's on the jack still, right? The lift jack?
Oh, yeah. Oh. Yeah.
The whole rear end moved up.
Yeah. Not super happy. Look at that. Good Lord. It's not supposed to. I've never seen one do that before. Yeah, so I'm guessing. Yeah, you can see light up through this. See the cheap bracket ain't holding it in the right place there. So I'm guessing that probably has something to do with our.
And it hasn't even made a pass, so.
Shock stuff.
That's fun.
There we go. Now it's doing what we want it to do. Take my eye out.
I think you have your safety glasses on.
That's right. They're protecting the top of my head.
Not the back of it, though.
No. We don't need to protect the back of my head. You've seen the back of my head. Ain't nothing to protect. Ah, Jesus Christ. Hey, there's another one. Look at that. Nice. That is cool, man. So now what we're going to do is we're going to use the anti-roll bar.
Why is that so crooked?
What? It is a little crooked.
No, like the, right here on the camera. So why is the clearance on the bottom of that nut or bolt higher than the top?
Yeah, I see what you're saying there. You're talking about how this is like that? The bolt is straight and the...
Hold on, let me zoom in because I'm lazy.
This side's the same way.
Yeah, that's a good time.
Yeah, I'm guessing it either warped when he welded it or it's bent. It shouldn't be bent because we haven't raced it yet, but...
I mean, it's going to get real bent if we bent it. Just from driving it.
Yeah, we're going to have to address that too. That's crap. This one and this one, they're both like that. Okay, well, you know, just add that to the daggum list with the shocks that are, at least the shocks are out of the way. That's the coolest part to me. At least the shocks are just not in my way right now. I like how they put blue paint on everything to signify that they tightened it.
But half of it wasn't tight.
But half of it's still loose. Yeah. And now we're going to use our anti-roll bar to make the rear end 0 with the chassis. And I'll show you how to do that. But we're going to change these links out real quick because they suck. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to
use what goes on it for.
We're going to use this to do our measuring real quick. And then we're going to hopefully go through the storage containers and stuff tomorrow and find the right stuff. So now we're going to use this to move our rear end into the, as you can see the rear end moves. So we're going to use this to set the rear end at 0 and make sure it's at 0, and then we can continue. So now this is our, how we set it. This is how we set the height. This is how we set this way. And now we can check and make sure that the rear end is square this way, because you have to have all of this. You have to have it right this way and right this way before you can check it this way. And I'll show you why in a minute here. All right. So now we take our handy dandy.
So he was making sure that where the shock mounts right there was the 13 5/8.
13 5/8 from the shock to the shock. That shows me that we are height-wise where we need to be.
Yeah.
Now we're going to use this to tell us if we're this way where we need to be.
What is it?
Huh?
What is it?
This is a digital tropractor.
Protractor.
Yes, that's what I said.
Yeah.
Digital tropractor. Yeah. There's not always a good place to put it. You don't want to put it here because this isn't the rear end. And as you can see, this isn't straight to the rear end for some reason on this car. Usually they are, but on this car, we didn't do that.
It's different.
We opted out. So the best way to tell, I've seen guys do the craziest shit. I've seen them put it on the housing here. I've seen them put it over here, put it over here. It doesn't work because if the housing is bent at all, you're going to have, it'll be 25, a quarter degree downhill on this side and a quarter degree downhill on this side when it's straight. Mm-hmm. But like, you don't know where in the tube it's bent. All that stuff is nonsense. The easiest way to do it is we have to assume that the brackets on the rear end housing are square to each other, and the brackets on the chassis are square to each other, even if they're not 100% square to each other. What you do is you put your digital tropractor on your bottom 4-link bar and get your measurement 6.4. We're going to go over here, put it on this one, and around about the same place. Make sure it's straight with the ground. What are we at?
635.
665?
35.
Oh,
30.
Oh wow, that's really, really close already.
It was at 4.
I am good at this. I am good at this.
Yeah.
What's it at now?
3.5.
Okay, so if it was
4.0.
Oh no, now we're gonna be off. Let's check it over here. Probably gonna be 4.5 over here.
3.5.
Huh?
4.0. 3.5.
Half a degree is acceptable, but just for my own.
I mean, it's not half a degree. It's a tenth or whatever. Or,
Yes, half of a tenth of a degree. Sorry.
So 100.
3.5. You son of a. Normally, I would not let that affect me, but today I've got time. What? Hello. Little buddy. There we go.
3.5.
3.5.
Beautiful.
Well, as long as it says 3.5 over here.
If you put it back where it just was, it would. It's kind of cheating if you're watching this because it literally depends on where you put it on the bar.
No, it doesn't.
Okay.
It shouldn't. If it does, there's more problems.
Well, it's moving around when you move it around on the bar. Yeah, like that.
No, that's because it's not really digital. It has liquid in there. Like it's the same as a level. It just takes this takes out the human error of someone knowing how to read a level correctly. It's a digital level basically.
It's a digital protractor.
That it is. That it is. All right. I mean, to be honest with you, this is stupid. We should not care about this, but
we don't care about it. You care about it.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah.
Oh, it was 4 over here. Yes.
Yeah. Perfect.
4.
You killed it. Okay, stop checking it. 4. Perfect.
So now, in theory, now that we got these shocks out of the way, in theory, the rear end is at the same ride height that it would, or up in the car, the same length as it would be as a car on the ground on the starting line. This deal is straight this way. It's straight this way. The only reason we did all of this is just to check to see if it's straight this way. That's what's crazy. Because when you put your alignment bars on here, so you can put an alignment bar to the...
We're on this side.
What? Sorry. You can put your alignment bar on your brake... on your brake rotor here, or you can, well, maybe not on it. Oh yeah, we gotta put bolts on it. But eventually, you can put it out here and tighten it down somewhere around in there.
Yeah.
And then you measure from here to your 4-link bracket. Okay.
Oh boy.
And that measurement on both sides needs to be the same. If the rear end, if you think about it, if the rear end is this way or this way, the measurement's going to be different. You know what I mean? So that's why you have to do this before you do that. And then also, we're going to have to check the rear steer, because if the rear end is cocked in the car this way, like has rear steer.
Like left in front of right, or right in front of left.
Yeah, when we say something has rear steer, it usually means that the right rear tire is forward of the left rear tire. So that when you let off the button, it'll drive the car to the right, and then the power comes in, drives it back to the left. But if it has rear steer in it, the measurement on your alignment bar will be closer on this side than this side, and you'll think, oh man, the rear needs to go over that way. But it doesn't. It's just you need to fix the rear steer or whatever, or live with the rear steer or whatever. So
sometimes you want rear steer.
Sometimes you do.
Especially on big tires, but
yes.
that's like level 4 of this. We're not anywhere near there.
So now the next thing we need to do is we're going to check the length from here to here.
Where?
Here to here. And we are going to, that's what we're going to go off of to set our rear steer, or to set our...
So you don't have to check the uppers?
I usually don't even have... In my car, I don't even have the right upper in the car right now. When I'm doing this...
Count.
Huh?
Your car doesn't count.
Sure it does. Oh. When I'm doing this, the right upper bar is usually laying on the workbench. I don't even have it in the car because its only use is to set preload or whatever. But on this car, since it's a triangulated 4-link, it doesn't have a wishbone. If you take that out, the rear end will fall onto the lift or something. So
we don't know.
But no, I
They'll
don't
probably
usually
hang like those shocks.
I don't usually do anything off of the top bars. The top bars pull, and you know, I usually don't measure anything off of them. They will get you all screwed up. And it's really, you can't make an adjustment to rear steer in the pits with the top bar, you know what I mean? I had to bring my Eldorado case.
What?
I had to bring my guitar case from Eldorado.
Wow. What are you just whack it into the car.
What?
And you fucking whack it into the car.
It's a tool.
I noticed.
It's a very expensive and sensitive tool, but it's still a tool. So
he wants to mention it's expensive and sensitive because I left it in his truck last year in the winter. So
yeah,
I didn't know.
In the truck in the wintertime.
Yeah.
So it was 20 degrees outside.
And he was like, "Did you not know my tool was in there?"
20 degrees in the truck, which means
it was in there for like 2 hours.
My digital caliper was 20 degrees.
I didn't even know there was anything in it.
In the truck?
In the truck or in the box or anything.
It's okay. We'll let it slide.
Yeah, clearly, because you're bringing it up.
You brought it up.
No, that's why you mentioned it's expensive and it's fragile or whatever the fuck you said.
So we got to get these. It seems really trivial and probably doesn't matter, but I like to get these bolts. See, this is the part of race cars that I don't like for people to know about me because it's really ridiculous.
I think everybody knows you're a psycho, so it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, that's true. I like to get the flats of the bolts in the same position.
Up and down.
Yes, exactly.
The same way you'll be on my ass if the tires aren't in the same position on both sides.
Yeah, and then that way it makes it really quick and easy for me to jump up under here.
With your expensive and fragile tool.
My expensive and sensitive measuring device. And you go flat to flat.
Wow.
And that is your measurement. And so we're at 15,533. Copy? So now we go 0. And we do the same thing on the other side. And then you use the fine adjustment here.
You're falling off the front one. You didn't get them perfectly straight.
Normally my head is
They're not adjusted the same.
Normally my head is right where your camera is. So normally I don't have to worry about this. What are we at?
2,200.
What?
I don't know.
Holy moly, you got 0.021 and a half rear steer in this car, Jackie.
Seems like a very minuscule amount.
Extremely minuscule. Just for the record.
0.2?
Just for the record. A normal man wouldn't even be able to measure that.
Oh, okay. 0.2 though?
0.021 and a half.
Yeah, that's nothing.
That's nothing. Basically what we're getting at here is these aren't even NAS bolts because you're a cheap ass, I don't know.
I didn't buy them.
You'll know.
The bill was expensive.
You'll know what an NAS bolt looks like. This is what it looks like. Okay.
Yeah, Justin.
This is not NAS.
You'll find one of those in Justin's
So let's be honest. There's a possibility that the flats on this bolt aren't 100%. Them's just regular bolts.
They got those from Ace Hardware.
Them's just regular hardware store bolts. The amount of inaccuracy the tool has now because it was left in the truck, plus these regular hardware store bolts, means
it's fine.
It's good. Both. I learned this from Rick Jones himself, the actual Rick Jones, because my car was going left and he was helping another team in the pits and I didn't know who he was. And he said, "How much rear steer you got in that deal?" I went over there asking for help, begging for help, basically. And he said, "How much rear steer you got in it?" I said, "I don't know what you're talking about." And he's like, "You got no rear steer in it?" I was like, "We measured it maybe 1/8 of an inch, maybe." And he was like, "I bet you got..."
This was on big tires for the record.
Yeah, it was going right. That's what it was. It was going right. And he's like, "I bet you got a lot more than that." And I was like, "No, we just measured it." I was like, "We'll measure it again." So we measured it again, took it all back apart right there in the pits on the Projects. And I went over and said, "Who?" Because I just wanted to know who that guy was and why he thought he knew everything. And I said,
"Because he does."
Because I mean, you know, that's what it boiled down to at the end of the day. It's because he does. Yeah. But apparently he likes Colt weaponry, and he had Colt on his belt. Oh. Like burned into a leather belt. So I thought his name was Colt. But So I said, "Where's Colt?" I'm gonna tell him he needs to come over here and measure this if he thinks I got more rear steer than 1/8 of an inch. And he come over to the pits.
He probably just looked from 2 trailers away and was like, "That's definitely more than 8."
He come over to the pits with a deal like this, and I said, "What are you gonna do with that?" And he said, "We're gonna measure your rear steer." And sure enough, I had a lot more than what he thought or what we thought. So that's how I do it now.
Which it's the same thing when people talk about flats.
What?
This measurement, you know.
Oh yeah, well
they'll say,
because some people will say they'll come in here. This is a flat. This is a flat. This is a flat. So if they come in here and they say, "Oh, put 3 flats of rear steer in it," basically they bust these loose. They grab this bar, they'd shorten it 3 flats. So they'd count this, and it would 1, 2, 3, and then they'd tighten those back down, and that would give it 3 flats of rear steer.
Yeah.
Some people work in flats. Some people.
I'm just trying to connect the dots here for people.
A lot of people.
Some people talk about it in measurements. Some people talk about it in flats.
Yes.
And it's the same thing. And then preload and negative, and they all come in. But these are all kind of big.
So what
big
this is
things.
determined here is in the chassis guy's defense, the rear housing is square in the chassis, or at least square to the rear,
mounting points.
You know, the back half. So, which is good enough for me. But we just know that it is not. It's square this way. You know what I mean? Fore and aft or whatever. I don't know. But yeah. So now the next thing we got to do is we got to measure. Now that we know that it doesn't have any measurable amount of rear steer, so now we got to go from the housing ends to the bracket with our alignment tools there, and that'll be it. Once we check that, if that is correct, then we can just start fixing all our little stuff, and this deal's ready to go to the racetrack. But yeah, as far as I'm concerned, as long as there's no, which we'll do that next, and if that's good, then kudos to the chassis guy on that part of it. He did a killer job. This part, yeah.
It's like modern day hoods where they hold themselves up.
It's great. I love it. I wish mine did that.
I bet you don't, but.
Buddy. All right, quick double triple check here. We're gonna put our digital protractor thingamajigger on the front frame rail, and it's 0. Okay, so the chassis is level. If we're assuming that bar is level, yes. Yeah. So that assumes the chassis is level. And then you come under here. And we're gonna go. That one's 770. That one's 770. All right. Chassis is level. Rear end is level. And now here is the main issue. So from that, if we assume that the 4-link brackets are correct in the car, that's showing 14 at the outside edge. This side, that is showing 14 1/4 ish. Yeah, about 14 1/4 at the outside edge. So the rear end is 1/4 inch this way in the car, is what I'm gathering. So in order to fix that, we have to shorten this top bar, lengthen this top bar because it's triangulated. If it had a wishbone, you just move the wishbone over and that fixes it. So I'm going to shorten this one, lengthen this one, get those two measurements the same. Okay, so after lengthening this top bar on this side, shortening on that side, moving the rear end over, then resetting the level, reset the rear end and square and level in the car, we now have a rear end that what I call square, plumb, level, straight. So if you don't have some of the tools that I'm using, you can always use, plumb bob off the axle housing and measure forward. But as far as I'm concerned, as long as we're trusting that the brackets are in the car correctly, then our rear end is hanging square, plumb, level, straight, and center. So I'm really happy with that. That's the hardest part to overcome. If that's right, everything else is just little stuff, punch out lists, route and brake lines, tying up wires, little stuff, and then, fixing brackets. I do believe this is a big problem with our shock hanging so crooked, was that bracket being quite a bit out of whack. So I think that's all easy fixes. And then obviously I'm going to change the rod ends out in the end of the shock there so that they'll hang and move freely. And the rest of it's just making sure nothing's going to hit, and then it'll be setting it on the ground, scaling it, making sure the 4-link's where we want it. And then you got to kind of go through all this process again when it's on the ground, but I'll show you all that in the next video. And then we'll be loading this thing up and trying to go find somewhere to make it hit. Stay tuned. What are you doing? Hi, what are you doing? Oh, the cutest boy.